Well, good morning. I'm going to follow up on what Brittany just said and actually talk about fiscal cliffs and bring them to life in a certain sense. So as I talk, I want you to think about yourself as a financial planner. So you're a financial planner just like anyone in this room might come to sort of help establish kind of what sort of decisions we should make in our financial lives. And you have a very special, that's going backwards. I'm going backwards. There we go. You have a very special client, Leah. Leah's actually not a cartoon, but our lawyers won't let us show a real person. But she's based upon a real person and is certainly a composite of many real people. She's a 25-year-old single mother of 2 children, ages 4 and 6, living in Broward County. And she's just entering a 2-month program to become a certified nursing assistant. Now, Leah's done her homework. She's made this choice because she knows that the CNA is a pathway career, an entry-level career to a collection of potential careers in health services. And as she moves up the ladder, each of these successive positions provide for a better income, a better life for her and her children. So she's in the CNA program. There's another thing she knows is that she goes to the Atlanta Fed website, and which everyone should do with regularity. And she sees this graphic on opportunity occupations, sort of a project that was done by the Atlanta Fed, the Philadelphia Fed, the Cleveland Fed, to identify those occupations that paid better than median wages and required less than a college degree. Something within Leah's reach, for sure. So she knows that the training she's about to get to become a CNA is a pathway to RN, LPN. These are aspirational occupations that will help provide for her and her children. So Leah comes to you, the financial advisor, and says, what do you think? Should I be thinking I want to become a licensed practical nurse? Well, you're a financial planner, so you've got a piece of software, and that piece of software sort of throws in all of Leah's vitals, projects a path forward, thinks about savings and all of that sort of stuff, and also puts in all of the tax implications of her decision. Because you do know that if you go to a higher and higher income level, you're going to pay some more taxes, so kind of a good planner is going to take all of that into account. And when you do, when you use this kind of piece of software, financial planning software, you get a picture that looks like this. So this is basically what Leah can expect, sort of on average, by age, as she progresses through each of these professions, the certified nursing assistant and the licensed practical nurse, and it looks like a pretty good deal. Look, there's this little piece near the beginning where she's got to go to school to become an LPN, but after that it's all gravy. And over a long period of time, her income will be substantially higher than it would be if she just parks in place as a certified nursing assistant. Well, Leah says, well, that's pretty interesting, and that seems like a pretty good deal, but I think you forgot something. I think your notion of a tax is a little bit different than my notion of a tax. Because the thing I have to tell you that you didn't immediately sort of put into my financial plan is that I receive a lot of public assistance. SNAP, Medicaid, housing vouchers, earned income tax credits. And I happen to know, because I think about these things, that as I move up these income profiles, I'm going to lose some of those potentially. So would you do me a favor? Would you go back to your financial planning software and would you plug in what my real tax looks like? Not just what I have to fork over to the government, but what I'm going to lose as I take on these higher income occupations. So I'm an economist. This is the right way to think about taxes. When you think about your Social Security payments, is it a good deal or a bad deal? Well, you're paying a bunch of stuff to the government, but you're getting a bunch of stuff from the government back. It's the net of those two things that matter. Leah is well aware of this and wants to see what it looks like when you account for the negative taxes as well as the positive taxes. Here's the picture that you end up with when you do exactly the exercise I just did, taking into account those fiscal cliffs that Brittany was talking about and we heard about earlier this morning. That is what happens to total resources available to Leah when she makes a decision to take on this training, make the effort to get to a higher income path. Well, I don't know. How much do I have to say about this? There's a couple things you notice for sure. One of the heartbreaking ones is that when you do this, this looks like an income path none of us think about. When I thought about whether I'm going to take this job or that job or go to school or not, it was all up and to the right. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but one thing I was sure, when I got 20 years down the road, I was going to have more for my family than I had today. This is not going in that direction in either case. The other thing you clearly see is that even though it's still sort of a net present value gain to Leah to become an LPN, to make that investment, it's not going to happen for a while, for a decade. Through most of the time when Leah's children are in her household, she's worse off at the higher paying LPN position than she is with the CNA. Yeah.
Can we go back? What was Leah's income in the age of 40 for the previous slide before she gets that tipping point?
Can I go back? That's a technical question. At the age of 40, it's $30,000. Yep. And it turns out that if you look at those benefit cliff pictures that were shown earlier, that $15 an hour, $30,000 a year, that's about when things start to turn south. Yep. Well, this is a dynamic thing for her. She's losing multiple benefits now as she goes along. So is this just a hypothetical issue? I mean, Brittany suggested it's not. And we do have some evidence that maybe it's not. There was a large study of the Health Profession Opportunity Grant Program, which subsidized thousands of people to take on these entry-level CNA positions, training for them, with the intention of moving these folks up the career pathway. 3% decided they would take additional training for the CNA and move on, which is still a pretty low-paying job, and move on to the higher-paying LPN and CNA. Now, there's lots of reasons why we might have seen this number. There are lots of reasons why the take-up rate on advancing up the career pathway was low. But that picture I just showed you, which I'm showing in miniature here, who would be surprised at these effective tax rates for human capital investment that there would be a whole bunch of people who said, this doesn't feel like a good deal for me and my family. So I'm an economist. My day job is to make people depressed. That's sort of what I do, and that's pretty depressing. You sort of saw all of this before, so you knew it was going to be depressing. But here's the thing, this way of counseling Leia and thinking about the problem involved actually kind of pulling out of the whole picture what the net payment was to the government in terms of taxes and benefits. And so there is another side of the picture, which is the public return to Leia moving from CNA to LPN to RN. The private return is tough, and it's going to be tough for Leia. But here's what it looks like for us, collectively. Moving a person like Leia from minimum wage to CNA is a net gain to the government of about $160,000 in present value. Moving her from CNA to LPN is about another $57,000 or so. And moving her from LPN to RN is about $130,000. What this means, of course, is that any amount you can spend less than that to move Leia up the career pathway is a net gain to all of us. It's a net gain to Leia for sure, but she's not going to realize it for a while. It's a net gain to us collectively as well. So, I don't know. Again, I'm an economist. I don't know much about the real world. I don't know what exactly the solution to this stuff is, but I know dollar bills laying on the ground when I see them. And these are dollar bills laying on the ground because we have not figured out a way to use these resources, at least in part, to move Leia from point A to B to C to actually a place where there is a potential for not relying on public benefits at all. I'll leave that to the rest of you to figure out. Thanks very much.